impact is way instant and fast.
You know what's crazy? You know who my favorite rapper of all time from Queens is? He'll never make the top 5. Queens really is deep. I used to love Mike Geronimo.
Oh wow, he
Oh
was
my!
Like that used to be my shit.
Yo, somebody ping Mike Geronimo in here.
Yo,
man.
Mike Geronimo's smooth. That's my man. You know what I mean?
Somebody ping him to the room, bro.
That used to be.
I think he was super nice, yo.
He was ridiculously, ridiculously nice. That used to be my shit. I know he wouldn't make nobody top 3, but I just think of Queens MCs. I used to be going, niggas in Baton Rouge used to be like, yo, what the fuck is you listening to, nigga? What would you trying? You got an identity crisis? I'd be like, nah, this nigga nice.
Nah, but that's true. There's a lot of hidden gems in Queens that people wouldn't like, that most people who are looking from the outside in or didn't have that underground experience. Like, as a person who was incarcerated in the 90s, you couldn't tell me that Tragedy Gaddafi wasn't the hardest motherfucker.
Fact.
I used to hear that shit when I was locked up, and he used to talk that real jail shit. And for anybody that's ever been locked up from New York in that era, you know who Tragedy Gaddafi is, because those tapes made it upstate. And the lingo that was used was definitely something that changed the game in terms of that. But I mean,
arrest the president. If nobody,
go.
Oh
my God.
And go Arrest the President by Tragedy. Yo, I'm gonna tell you something about Tragedy. He had this record called "They Wanna After Me." He was one of the first Queensbridge. He set Queens.
That's a fact.
Monster. He's a monster.
Listen, where does Shan really place in Queens rap? I've always wanted to say, I always wanted to know that, because you hear Shan's name, but where does Shan really place when it comes?
Can I answer the question? Because Shan is my man.
Yeah, fine. Like, tell us, give us a little bit. Well, give us a walkthrough, even from the early, your earliest memories and stuff like that. Give us a walk through Queens.
Like, I could really tell you about Shan, because when I was a young kid, I was in Baisley Park. I was there as a youngster, 16, 17, smoking my little dirt weed, you know what I'm saying, listening to MC Shan and these dudes. And his impact, when he said hip hop, sat out in the dark. We used to do it out in the park. I was in the park. Whew. I was like, yo, this shit is ill. You know what I'm saying? Niggas is rocking the Kangos, Adidas. Shan was rocking Pumas, though. You know what I'm saying? He had his own little style. And like I said, he was representing Queensbridge. So niggas from Southside, when I never been to the bridge before. I didn't know nothing about the bridge. So when he mentioned the bridge, I'm like, yo, what the fuck is the bridge? And then I actually took a train, went to the bridge. I met this kid named Poet. He black poet from Queens, man. And I met him. He was the first rapper I ever met in Queens, man. But yeah, MC Shan, he was popping, but when KRS-One came out, that's when it was just fucked up for Queens. Everybody in Queens hated that record. Straight the fuck up. Everybody hated KRS-One.
I mean, at that point, you had to, right? You know what I mean?
Niggas said Queens keeps on faking it.
Yeah, you had to.
When that song come on right now, niggas get mad. Straight.
I'll drop another name from Queens that was really before that. I mean, Mikey Destruction. He beat Melly Mel in a battle. He really had LL sweating back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a cat that, a lot of cats don't, pay homage to or give credit to, but that was really like one of the first ill battle rappers. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we talking early 80s.
Yo, Trey, you must be older than me, man. You talking about Mikey D, bro.
Oh, indeed. I just turned 50. You know what I mean?
Yo, Mikey D from Rochdale Projects. He used to, I think he battled LL, right? Or
That's right. He battled Melly Mel and he battled LL.
Right, Mikey D.
This may not be a fair question.
Mike Geronimo.
What's the greatest? See, this is fucked up. Because Queens is so separate. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't realize that till I was hanging. What's the greatest song out of Queensbridge?
Oh, wow.
That's the real
Shook Ones.
Shook Ones.
Gotta be Shook Ones.
Absolutely. Shook Ones.
It gotta be Shook Ones.
Shook Ones, hands down. It ain't even close. It's Shook
It gotta be Shook Ones, cuz.
Yeah, it gotta be Shook Ones. Everywhere around the world, you hear that record, you go nuts.
That might be one of those records in hip hop, bro. That's like, cause that's just different. You feel me? You hear it, it's a different thing.
Bro, come on, and your body get to jumping. You feel them niggas and what the fuck they talking about. Like that, it cross cultures, right? Because, it's one of them records that it couldn't be regional. It was too authentic. Wherever you were, like you felt that shit. That shit, like I'm from the deep south, had us on fire down there. And
it's not even close. It's not even close.
That's a good point. It's not. It can't be close. Shook Ones is. Hold up, somebody give something else, man, because it can't.
Yeah, we need like
that's
The
crazy.
top 3.
But Shook Ones is probably, that could be the greatest hip hop record out of New York. Like it's that close.
It's between that and Troy to me. It's between that and Troy. One of the two.
The whole
you talking about They Reminisce?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Nah.
That might be my favorite hip hop beat ever made.
That's Mount Vernon. Troy's from Mount Vernon.
No. He was saying out of New York.
Out of New York total. Like
he was saying out of New York. Period.
New York got some shit. That's the best record out of New York ever.
Wow.
But Shook Ones could probably be that. Like I think Juicy. Nobody would ever really credit Juicy correctly, but Juicy is one of those joints. Shook Ones is one of those joints.
Reminisce,
I think Cream could be in that conversation and Reminisce for sure. That's crazy. It's that got to be the greatest record from Queensbridge. Fucking Mobb Deep.
I mean, what's competing with it? Nobody can come up with anything that's even close to competing with it.
Don't forget. Hold on, real quick. Don't forget Mims. This Is Why I'm Hot.
Oh wow!
Bro, no, man.
He's fucking.
And I don't want it to look, because niggas fuck with Mims, bro. Don't do that.
I fuck with Mims too, but
don't do that.
Wow, right now, son.
I used to piss niggas off playing that song. I used to love that shit.
That song, don't get me wrong. That song is dope. That shit was dope. But
it just doesn't apply to this conversation.
Look, Jay ain't got nothing that can hold that crown. Jay ain't got nothing that's close.
No. Jay ain't got nothing fuck with Shook Ones, bro. Nothing. Not even close.
Jay got a lot, but nah.
Not that song.
No. That might be a discussion. I don't know.
Whoa. What's Jay song could fuck with Shook Ones, bro?
I'm just thinking. Hold on. I'm thinking. You never know.
That's why you thinking. It ain't. No.
Hold on. He got a lot of songs that personally, for me, can fuck with Shook Ones.
Sure. Yeah. I'm as a whole fan, of course. But I mean,
now you know what, man. You know what?
I can't think.
Shook Ones got a lot of alley-oop too, though. It didn't hurt that it was also a huge part of the 8 Mile movie as well, right? So that,
but why was it a part of the 8 Mile?
Because it was
right, because it's so fucking incredible. But I mean, it's not so far-fetched from people's minds, also because of a couple of different reasons too, right? It's the beat as well is like, well, let's talk about it. Is the beat more impactful or is it the bars?
Well, the bars too.
It's the bars, bro.
It's also
niggas on that shit.
Jesus.
They on some shit on that motherfucking record.
The thing that's impactful too is people have to remember that Mobb Deep, that wasn't their first album. They had an album out before called Juvenile Hell. Yeah. And there were a lot of other people that were coming out from Queensbridge that were doing their thing in the underground. And technically, there are people that were paying dues well before that. Like I mentioned, going way back. But when I talk about that, the impact, y'all mentioned that song, is when a lot of people were reintroduced to Queensbridge. Like if I could say anything, the impact of that song is also that it caused the resurgence to Queens in a lot of people's eyes. And it was like, oh man, they up again now. Wow, okay, before they had the bridges over, and then, it wasn't like people from Queens weren't making music. Of course they were impactful, crazy, but then I felt like because that it comes in waves, you know what I mean? Obviously, Onyx, obviously, a lot of other things in other eras. You see people, LL, we mentioned him, of course, first, but when you talk about Shook Ones, then I felt like right after that, people got CNN, people got not necessarily the underground stuff, but they got the commercial records from a lot of artists, and a lot of other people were were seeing that kind of wave come out, and people were saying, "Oh, are you from Queensbridge?" Or a lot of labels were interested in just signing people from Queens, or you know what I mean. Even as an artist from Harlem, they'd be like, "Are you from Queens?" I'd be like, "No, I'm from Harlem." I'm like, "Oh man, we looking for somebody from Queens," and that made that region really really hot. That record, and it's crazy because Havoc always tells people in interviews that that was the beat that he was unsure about. You know, for all the people and all the young people that are listening in the crowd right now, the producers, the people that do this, that was the one they were unsure about on the record. Like to think about the impact of that could have been on like a B-side or some other mixtape and never got the burn that it did. But someone there was like, nah, this got to be it. And Have and P were like, all right, man, put it to fuck it, man, let's do it. So, and it goes to say a lot about having the confidence and saying, like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna just put that shit out there and let it rock.
Facts. Yo,
Yo, is that really the greatest New York record to hip hop? Like, that's a real conversation.
Could be.
Shook One stopped everything. That's all I know.
I would say I don't know about the greatest, but it's up there. It's up there with the impactful. You know what I mean? It's definitely one of the New York songs. You know what I mean? It just had some Frank Sinatra type shit. When you hear it of the modern era, that's what it is. You know. And there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those for different regions. Like like for the West Coast, they got so many different bangers that you can say automatically. I associate that with that.
I think for us is Regulate. I know everybody want to say nothing but the G thing at California Love, but Regulate is just different. That motherfucker be at the wedding, cuz they be playing that shit at church. Bro, that shit's crazy. Like I hear Regulate, 70-year-old men playing Regulate. Like that song with Warren and Nate, dog, is just different, man.
It's a perfect song, though.
Like, that motherfucker don't even got no hook.
No, not no hook, no nothing. It's just a perfect song. From even the little Young Gun shit at the beginning, like is the whole song. It's just a perfect record. Like it really can't get no better. Perfect use of Nate, Warren, the production, all of that.
It always tripped me out too because of the concept of it, which was totally different than what everybody else was doing, which again opens up the conversation about it. I think it was Fredro that said it before. It's not just when you're the greatest rapper as lyrics. It's also the other things that go into it. What's the song about? Did you make stuff that made people think? Did the concept of the record? Did you put something out? What's the song about? And in that case, it really is about something that, man, usually people are talking about jacking other people. And now you find yourself in a situation where people are about to take your life, right? Where you about to get got. You about to get killed over some bullshit. And you like, oh, man. So, it's definitely one of them songs that if you was blazed up as a kid and you was hearing it, you'd be like, oh, man, this is some different shit. Like, usually they talk about riding on people. And now it's like, you got caught slipping. Yeah, that happens too, yo.
And also, real shit, the song was like vulnerable. This nigga was like, if I had wings, I would fly. I'm like, whoa.
He about to get got, man.
Bro, he getting got. Like he fucking putting himself in somebody else's body. And then I felt when Nate popped up, I'm like, oh shit, that's a relief. Here come Nate.
But is it fair to say so? Back off this because I just had to start and I didn't want to lose it. Queens had the deepest stable of hip hop artists as far as impact and just greatness. It couldn't be no other borough to have more. Like I'm thinking about Harlem. Harlem is short.
No, I don't
Brooklyn
know.
Brooklyn might have something to say.
Automatically, I know people from Brooklyn go crazy.
What about
Brooklyn?
Brooklyn?
Fuck all the biasness. Like straight up, like think about how deep Queens go. Like groups, right? You got Onyx, you got Tribe, like you got Run It. Like look at how deep that fucking borough is when it comes to motherfucking hip hop.
Pretty deep. Brooklyn pretty deep too, though.
No,
I don't know, dog.
Not like Immortal said, like if you was from Queens, you would have had a record deal in the 90s because that's what they was looking for. Because you know one thing about Queens, I'm gonna tell you why so many Queens artists, because I think Queens artists always put the next dude on. You know what I'm saying? It's like it was like a brotherhood in Queens. Like, oh, where you from Queens? Because we got put on by Jam Master Jay. You know what I'm saying? And all those Queensbridge dudes we seen, Mobb Deep, they was all working together with Nori. It was just like people was just rocking with each other. You know what I'm saying? It was like a brotherhood in Queens. That's why Queens is deep like that. No, ain't no brother could fuck with Queens in hip hop. Nah.
And Fredro's supposed to say that as a Queens nigga.
He's
really, when
definitely
you
supposed to say
think
that.
about it,
Hold on, but
I
can't even say he's lying though, because
that's what I'm saying.
I've had legends from Queens show me love on some put you on, not put you on, but be like, yo, man, this is what you should do. I definitely have experienced that. Not to say that I could say that's more than I have from other people. Nah, people from Harlem always show me love. But definitely, when, for example, when he mentioned Jam Master Jay, man, I remember when I put out my first album in 2001. I mean, this was such a long time ago, 20 years. And Jam Master Jay was one of the first people who got it from me. And you know what I mean? He's to see me on stage, and he didn't have to come over to me. And he was like, yo, man, you got a great thing going for you. And he told me, stay independent, keep your stuff going like that. And to this day, that was so impactful. That was so big on me, because here I was, a little kid on parole, pressing up his CDs, trying to be in front of a crowd. And I got 10 minutes of people's time. For whatever reason, I parlayed 10 minutes up there. And he was like, yo, I seen you up there. And I like what you did, man. Let me check you out. And I gave him the CD, and I was just like, yo, man, please. But yeah, that was a different era, though, I think.
I'm glad
where people would extend themselves. They wasn't afraid to show you love.
That's how
Jay was really nice.
Always show love. That's how he was, man. Word.
Royce,
what up?
top three.
He's a legend.
Royce,
hold on before
three?
before he tells us his top three. Royce, you got to tell us what makes your criteria that makes someone get in your top three greatest from Queens. What's your criteria?
The top three greatest from Queens of all time?
Yeah.
All time.
First of all, shout out to all of y'all brothers up here, man. Much love and respect to y'all.
Yeah.
Love and respect.